Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi HN. Firstly, apologies for being a little late. हमारे साथ हैं आज शाम को राजा मुनीर जी जो हमको समझाएंगे, बताएंगे कि ये क्या हो रहा है पाकिस्तान एंड अफगानिस्तान के बीच में, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ पर एक एक सिचुएशन उभरती हुई दिख रही है जहां पर पाकिस्तान का सबसे बड़ा हेडेक भारत नहीं होगा। भारत तो खैर देखता भी नहीं है, कुछ बोलता भी नहीं है, लेकिन अफगानिस्तान होने वाला है। अफगानिस्तान इज गोइंग टू बिकम द biggest headache of Pakistan. पिछले I want to start this by discussing the Khost attack and तालिबान तो खुद बोलता है हमने फायरिंग खोली थी. So firstly sir, namaskar, welcome and tell us what you feel.
Namaskar, thank you. And yes, very much expected lines क्योंकि अब जो है mountain passes भी खुलेंगे, right? And the winter is setting, spring is coming, so the offensive is coming as well. तो जो offensive है पाकिस्तान की तरफ अफगानिस्तान का जो last year भी हमने देखा था, especially KP के region में and the way TTP was behaving with them. So it's basically a continuation of that. और जो खोस्ट में हुआ है, it is a ड्यूरेंट लाइन का ही इशू है जो पाकिस्तान प्रेस करना चाहता है अभी. yesterday they had a meeting between the governor of Khost and Pakistan's internal minister and they wanted to talk about it, but वही हुआ कि उन्होंने वही कहा कि ड्यूरेंट लाइन तो नॉन कंटेंशियस मतलब doesn't even exist for Afghanistan. और ये आज का नहीं है, it's a perennial issue since ages from Afghanistan Pakistan के बीच में है. And since they became nation states, they have had this issue. जब तक अफगानिस्तान अनस्टेबल था, जब तक वहाँ पे सिविल वॉर थी, जब तक वहाँ पे फाइट अगेंस्ट टेररिज्म था, तब तक तो ये इशू जो था वो पाकिस्तानीज के लिए इट वाज अ मैनेजेबल इशू, क्योंकि वही स्पॉन्सर भी कर रहे थे तालिबान को, वही उस रीजन को भी देख रहे थे, डिफैक्टो केयर टेकर्स थे. But now what has happened is, Adi, that Afghanistan and Taliban, now one thing is clear to the world, that Taliban is there to stay. It is not going anywhere. जो apprehension थी ना कि अफगानिस्तान में there will be a civil war followed by Taliban takeover and again Afghanistan will be unstable. That is not happening. So Taliban is there to stay. And what that means is that they are going to consolidate on Afghanistan as a nation state. तो अगर अब आप तालिबान का आप देखोगे कि उनका जो their emphasis is their own border state, their security, their economy, their defense. They're looking at everything. They're consolidating in the area. And they have a problem with the Pakistanis. They always had a problem with the Pakistanis. And this problem is going to conflate more. क्योंकि इसका कोई solution तो है नहीं, पाकिस्तान जो है वो claim करता रहेगा, right? बट अफगान्स ने ना कभी माना है ना कभी मानेंगे. दूसरा जो पाकिस्तान ने जिस तरीके से इनको ट्रीट किया लास्ट ईयर, द वे दे asked all the Afghanistanis, it was very hostile towards the Afghan, and Afghan pride is known to be very very big, very very strong pride, very high pride. तो उसका भी कहीं ना कहीं असर है जो hard stance था पाकिस्तान का, and that is equally being met with the equally hard stance from the Afghans. तो ड्यूरेंट लाइन पे जो हमने अभी देखा है कोस्ट में, दे लॉस्ट फ्यू सोल्जर्स, दे हैड इंजरीज आल्सो, पाकिस्तानी साइड सफर्ड कैजुअलिटीज. और उस साइड पे अगर आप देखोगे ना, जब भी क्लैश होता है, इट इज द पाकिस्तानीज हु सफर मोस्ट ऑफ द कैजुअलिटीज.
दिस इज, मैं एक्चुअली पूछने वाला था आपसे ये, नाउ दैट यू हैव टेकन इट अप, ये कैसे होता है?
Because the Afghans, for them it is a natural terrain. The Pakistanis are not used to fight in that kind of a terrain constantly, right? The Afghans have been fighting in that terrain since ages, since yonkers. So they are very well attuned to the kind of mountain warfare आप कह सकते हो, pass warfare कह सकते हो. So very well attuned to the geography, to the topography, to everything, and they have much more natural, I would say, bunkers, natural covers for themselves to protect themselves from the incoming fire the Pakistanis put on them. But the Pakistanis have still not figured out कि इसका जो जवाब है वो कैसे देना है. So result ये है कि पाकिस्तानी फौज वैसे भी अगर आप देखोगे, forget KPK, look at Balochistan, they take high casualties. That means somewhere their training, basic training में कहीं पाकिस्तानी फौज का issue है. They are not able to take the guerrilla warfare. They're not able to take this kind of warfare to themselves. They're very, very poorly trained. They're very poorly equipped for such kind of warfare. So they take a lot of losses onto themselves. So that is why we see Pakistanis always taking heavy losses, right? And the Afghans have a very good strategy of shooting and scooting, coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out.
Hmm.
Who basically
Hmm.
guerrilla warfare, so they're trained into it. They're the masters of it. So Pakistanis find it very hard to cope with it. And Pakistani Rangers are not very, well equipped or well trained force anyway. If you look at the way they carry their weapons or their movements and all that, they seem very, very ordinary kind of, uh, very badly trained, ordinary, I would say semi-trained kind of लगती है वो Rangers जो उनकी है. तो एक तो उनका ट्रेनिंग का इशू है, दूसरा उनका टोपोग्राफी का इशू है, राइट. बट ये इशू जाएगा कहाँ? देखो प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पर है. द प्रॉब्लम इज वेयर इट इज स्टक एंड दैट इज द ड्यूरेंट लाइन. जब तक तो अशरफ गानी और बाकी थे, दे वर विलिंग टू मेक अ डील विद पाकिस्तान, टू बी इन देयर गुड बुक्स एंड से चलो हम ड्यूरेंट लाइन को कंसीड करते हैं, वी एग्री विद इट. बट सिंस द तालिबान हैज कम इनटू पावर, वन थिंग इज वेरी वेरी क्लियर. ड्यूरेंट लाइन इज देयर रेड लाइन. दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू डिस्कस इट, राइट. अच्छा, उसके साथ उनका वो भी एंड देयर क्लेम इज वेरी जस्टिफाइड ऑन द केपी रीजन, राइट. अगर आप देखोगे कि द वे दे हैव, इट हैज बीन अ नेचुरल हैबिटेट फॉर देम since the Americans started the war there. It was the KP region which became basically was their shelter, their home.
Correct.
Laden also escaped to that area for some time. He was also there, and then eventually he ended up in Abbottabad, Pakistan. So they have relations with KPK. They feel it as their extended part. So they are not going to give it to Pakistan for sure. But there is one thing, Aadi, which I see what is happening between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And that is, I would say, अगर आप जो इस्लामिक रूल है, जिसको शरिया बोलते हैं, या तो इस्लामिक वे ऑफ गवर्नेंस would be a better way to say, right? See, ISIS tried to do that in Syria. They failed. They failed to build a nation state, right? Taliban twice have been able to build that. Taliban now is in full control and is there to stay. They are somewhere giving a model of the future Islamic states कि किस type का model होना चाहिए. The one they have been striving for ages, for fighting for ages, जो जहाज जिसके लिए इन्होंने किया है, what they aspire to be, what the Pakistanis made them aspire to be, right? पाकिस्तान में आज की प्रॉब्लम ये है कि over the years, since this radicalization, this terrorism was homegrown, most of their population, most of their, you can say, lower ring to middle ring army officers are also attuned to the same mindset. So the fight between Pakistan and Afghanistan now essentially is going to be what kind of law is going to be permissible within the land. The Afghanis don't see Pakistan as an Islamic nation. And the Afghanis now believe it is their duty to have similar laws for Pakistan what the Afghans have. So this is going to become a very big fight between the Pakistanis and the Afghanistans. अब आप ये देखो ना कि पाकिस्तानी आर्मी जनरल का अगर आप देखोगे जो एक के बाद एक आता जाता है, look at the way they are changing the way they portray themselves. आसिम मुनीर का देखो, the moment आसिम मुनीर came in, his qualification was ये हाफिज कुरान है. His qualification was never कि he is a he's risen through the ranks, he has commanded this, he has commanded that, like a general is supposed to be, right? The thing is, the general was highlighted by saying he's a Hafiz Quran. So somewhere that is a message. That is a message within the Pakistani army also, that, and to the world also. It should open eyes ki where Pakistani army is heading slowly, but eventually where they're heading, and where the Afghans are seeing it from. What angle the Afghans are seeing it from. Right now, both are playing games with each other. The Pakistanis are training the ISKP guys. The Taliban is giving shelter to the TTP. So it is a game of counterbalance and balance on both sides. But who is going to prevail? I see Taliban prevailing more because, one, the ideological condition and the ideological mindset is rife for Afghanistan to prevail in Pakistan than the Pakistanis to prevail, where army ki aaj ki date mein credibility is zero, is very, very low, lowest till since the birth of Pakistan, right? The politicians have essentially lost Pakistan. There is no political party which can say that it's a people's representative except Imran Khan, which is behind the bars, right? So the political, the political scenario of Pakistan is very, very weak. The military scenario of Pakistan is very, very weak. Yet it is only the Pakistani army which is holding the threats together, and the Afghans do realize it. And what Afghans think is that they have time towards them. They fought America for 20 years and they got what they wanted. So they will use the same strategy. They'll tire out Pakistanis for next 20 years, but it will eventually take over Pakistan. That is what they firmly believe. And in today's date, Pakistan don't have an answer to them.
ये तो आप
So
you're painting a, I mean, honestly, हमने काफी बात करी है इस सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर. आई न्यू आप एक डिफरेंट एंगल लेके आओगे. आपने तो पूरा यू ब्रोकन द एंटायर होराइजन, बिकॉज आपने तीन चीज बोली हैं इसमें व्हिच आई वांट टू एक्चुअली हाईलाइट. वन, यू सेड द ट्रेनिंग, ठीक है. नाउ द सेकंड थिंग दैट यू आर सेइंग कि साहब देयर इज अ, यू नो, देयर इज ऑब्वियसली द रिलीजियस फैक्टर कि आप दिखा रहे हो दुनिया को कि भाई ऐसे एक अगर आपको कोई स्टेट मिल जाता है तो कैसे करना है उसके अंदर काम आपको.
absolutely.
तीसरा तीसरा आप बोल रहे हो द, यू नो, पाकिस्तान टेक ओवर. नाउ दैट इज अ
See,
लिटिल.
the Afghanis are very clear. See, the Taliban is, पहले मैं आपको ये बता दूं, Taliban is an expansionist force. Taliban doesn't believe in border states. If you pick up the manual of Al-Qaeda, if you pick up the manual of all these jihadis, they don't believe in nation states.
जी.
For them, it is the concept of Ummah, right? Now, the Taliban is very, very clear. If you read about their leaders, if you read about their ideology, you do a bit of research, they're very clear that if they want to expand in this Central Asian region, the first place which they need to expand is to Pakistan. They want Pakistan firmly in control before they will look towards the rest of Central Asia, because they know if they look somewhere else, Pakistan is going to become their biggest problem. So they were strategically very, very clear.
तो अपने survival, for their own survival, they'll need to do this.
Yes, for their own survival, they need to take Pakistan under control. Once Pakistan is under control, once the jihadi factory is under their control, direct management, then it is very easy to export it.
Interesting.
Abhi the jihadi factory is not in their management, right?
Very
so
interesting.
that is where the Afghanistan-Pakistan conundrum is basically. वहां पे पाकिस्तान और अफगानिस्तान का जो टग ऑफ वॉर है चलता रहेगा, and we'll see all these problems happening.
बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज बोला आपने. आई मीन, एंड सम पीपल आर कमेंटिंग द प्लेट इज स्विच्ड. यहाँ तो पाकिस्तान वाज सपोज्ड टू टेक अफगानिस्तान, यहाँ तो उल्टा होने वाला है. एंड वन ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट आई एम
because Pakistanis were thinking, Pakistanis were always saying कि once Taliban comes, it will be our strategic tip. They wanted to play to their advantage, but they seriously miscalculated the Taliban, the Afghanis. The Afghans took everything from them with humiliation for 20 years just because they wanted the Americans out. So that is the resilience factor of the Afghans, which should not be, discounted or disengaged. And then they turned the tables on Pakistanis, and Pakistanis have no answer now.
So I have someone in touch with me. I'm not going to say who, but he said pretty much the same thing, and it's really funny coming from your mouth as well. So I'm like, okay, ये दो जगहों से जब एक चीज सिमिलर नैरेटिव मिलता है तो मैंने यही पूछा, यार तुम you guys are doing whatever you're doing to the women, that is not going to be acceptable. आपको you have to become human beings. कहता है वो प्रायोरिटी नहीं है. प्रायोरिटी है पहले जगह खत्म करनी है.
The world has accepted it. कौन बात कर रहा है? Tell me which country is talking about rights of women in Afghanistan as for now. Nobody is talking about it. It has been accepted.
Yeah.
They have been left to their fate.
The bigger question I want to ask you is now, अगर आप एक चीज नोटिस करो, इन ईरानियन जो एक एग्जिस्टेंस है, ईरानियन एग्जिस्टेंस क्या है कि भाई अपने बॉर्डर से आप वॉर को दूर रखो. उधर पे हमास है, उधर पे ये है, अपने ये है. So nobody comes close to you because everybody is fighting that proxy of yours. When I look at Afghanistan today, ठीक है, टीटीपी बना दिया, चाइना के लिए ETIM वहां पर खड़ा है, पकड़ के बैठे हैं उसको, बट दे आर देयर, 5-6,000 of them are there. ठीक है, TTT बना लिया उसने अभी, तहरीक तालिबान ताजिकिस्तान. तो ये क्या, ये वही गेम खेलने वाला है कि अपने से ही इज गोना कीप देम अवे एंड एंगेज्ड सो दैट नोबडी कम्स क्लोज टू हिम. इट्स अ गुड प्रोटेक्शन फॉर्मूला. जो आप एक नेशन स्टेट की बात कर रहे हो, इस्लामिक नेशन स्टेट की बात कर रहे हो, तो द नेक्स्ट बेस्ट थिंग वुड बी ईरान.
Absolutely. See, the Iranians have a different game to play. The Iranians have found a very different game, which should be a bit surprising for these Sunni elements. They are essentially now funding what the Saudi was funding. They are running Muslim Brotherhood more than what the Middle Eastern countries were doing. They are contributing more to it. So basically, what they are doing is they're using them to keep themselves busy among themselves, so they stay away from the Shia population. Now, when we talk about TTT, we talk about TTP, we talk about ATM. अगर देखोगे कि अफगानिस्तान का मॉडल क्या है, तो अफगान्स आर यूजिंग एटीएम एज अ रैंसम डील विद द चाइनीज पे देम द मनी, द एटीएम इज स्टेड अवे, राइट? It's a good blackmail tool, it's a good way to make money also, but it's also where their future thinking or their future mind is lying. They are eyeing the regions. They know that when the time is right, they will perpetrate these people into these areas, and they will try to capture these areas because they have an expansionist plan which could be run over next 200 to 300 years. So अब आप ये देखो कि जब तालिबान ने टेक ओवर करना था ना अफगानिस्तान में, they started making shadow governors when the coalition was in power.
You're picking up my questions. Next वाला question आप पहले आंसर कर देते हो मेरा. बताइए.
So
11 governments they formed or 12?
12. Yes, I think it's 12. Yeah. So now they have started putting in every province of Pakistan there is a shadow governor sitting of TTP.
Even in Punjab, by the way, North Punjab.
Even in Punjab. Yes, even in Punjab. That tells you how they are going to work. And these shadow governments, let me tell you, they are extremely potent. They do their job, and they work with a doctrine.
Bloody hell.
So the way Afghans are approaching Pakistan, I don't think the Pakistanis are approaching Afghanistan. They cannot get a foothold in Afghanistan except somewhere in Nangarhar. They've got that ISKP gang going on, right? The Afghans have not been able to break, the Pakistanis have not been able to break them or to look at it very strategically. The strategic advantage is lying with Taliban right now. And on the borders, if it is small, in a sense that if it is contained conflict, the advantage lies with Afghanistan. If the conflict goes up, the Pakistanis use their air force and use their heavy, artillery and things, then yes, the balance will change. But then essentially, you will see a swarm of suicide attackers coming into Pakistan and blowing them into pieces. So Pakistanis are caught. Pakistanis don't know how to get out of this situation. And that is why you're seeing Pakistanis picking back to the US.
Okay.
Otherwise, the relationship between US and Pakistan was very bad.
That's fine. But the US तो अफगानिस्तान को पैसे देता है.
हाँ, but उसको तो ईरान चाहिए ना.
उसको स्टाइपेंड मिलता है.
ईरान पे डील, हाँ, तो इन्होंने ईरान पे डील की हुई है ना. तो ये अपनी ईरान और चाइना पे डील है ना, तो इनको तो ईरान पे करना है.
ये इक्वेशन मेरे को थोड़ा समझाओ अभी. ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग आप जगह पे लेके आए हो. Let me put this across a little, this thing. आप बोल रहे हो Afghanistan wants to take over Pakistan. I kind of, I've thought about this quite a bit, but KP तो गया इनका, वो तो भूल जाओ.
KP तो गया. So once KP is gone, what is left?
मैंने मैप भी बनाया हुआ है, मैं आपको अभी 2 मिनट में मैं शेयर करूंगा. मैं तो पूरा रेडी है, ठीक है. मैं I've made those maps. So KP इनका गया. आप बोल रहे हो इन्होंने गवर्नर्स बिठा रखे हैं इवन इन पंजाब, साउथ पंजाब में. इसका मेरे को भी पता है. एंड यू आर सेइंग दे आर इफेक्टिव. जो भी लोकल एरिया है, they've got a little this thing. तीसरा आप बोल रहे हो कि Afghanistan now in link with USA is meant for Iran, right? USA is also trying to get Pakistan meant for Iran, correct?
Yes.
Now, how does this whole thing work?
It's very simple. See, why did the Iranians carry out the strike in Pakistan? Because they knew it became a perpetual threat to the Iranian borders. See, as you explained very rightly, the Iranians want to keep everything away from their borders. So Pakistan is not only a threat for Iran, it is a threat for Afghanistan also. Afghanis know till Pakistan is there, we will never be a nation state. We will always be struggling. We will always have issues. They have recognized this. They realize it very well now. So Pakistan is known by its neighbors as a trouble country, which will keep on needling one or the other. And now they are coming up with effective strategies. Now the Americans need the Pakistanis right now because they're fighting a war in Middle East. The Chinese have said, you guys are bad investment. We are done with you. We don't want any of you. We wanted the Afghans and we are dealing directly with the Afghans. We wanted the mines and all that. We will deal with them directly. They found a way to deal with Taliban.
वो भी इतना easy नहीं है. I mean,
वो भी
the
इतना
Khan is terrible.
हाँ. So, they have their own plans, but how financially effective they are, that's their wisdom, which doesn't seem to pay because CPEC mein they have lost a lot of money and nothing is coming out of it. It's a failure. BRI is doing very bad. Right?
Interesting.
Now the Pakistanis are in trouble. The Pakistanis need US on its side more than the US needs Pakistan. The US knows how to squeeze every drop out of Pakistanis. That is what they're doing. But the Pakistanis are dependent on US to keep the Afghanis at bay. क्योंकि पैसा अभी अफगानिस्तान को आ रहा है अमेरिका से. Every week the money comes in.
60 million.
They're heavily dependent. 60 million. So the Pakistanis are trying to hedge their bets everywhere right now. अब आप ये देखो कि आज केपी का जो सीएम है और पाकिस्तान का जो पीएम है, इनकी मीटिंग थी आज. And now the KP CM was saying that we are discussing the political issue and should be resolved politically. So within Pakistan, the two opposing governments are now also, coming onto a loggerhead saying that there is going to be a political issue between KPK and rest of Pakistan. That is how bad it is. That is how bad the situation in KPK is, which will unfold in next 2 years. In next 2 years, you will see where it goes. So Pakistanis don't have an option. जाएंगे कहाँ? And they have got Shehbaz Sharif, which you remember I told you last podcast that I wouldn't be surprised if Asim Munir gets Shehbaz Sharif back because he's the best guy for him, the best puppet for him. नवाज से वो comfortable नहीं है, इमरान को लाएगा नहीं, शहबाज को ले आएगा, ले आया वो शहबाज, right? But जब तक आसिम मुनीर है तब तक शहबाज, it's very clear. So essentially, it's going to be Asim Munir who's going to call the shots on foreign policy, on economy, on everything. And the political spectrum of Pakistan is finished. I wouldn't be surprised 3 years down the line, 2.5 years down the line, people will be marching to Adiala jail, breaking the jail and getting Imran Khan out as a hero.
मैं तो बोलता हूँ उसको भी निकाल देंगे ये लोग. They will put him in money
वाला
क्योंकि
उसको निकाल देंगे. मगर यूफोरिया के लिए चलाएंगे ना उसको. अच्छा नहीं, but I'll tell you something. Imran is willing to make a deal with the Afghanis. Imran is smart.
हाँ, my next question to you was, will Imran Khan become Prime Minister caretaker of KPK? See,
I always have said this. Imran is the first soft Talibani Prime Minister of Pakistan. If Imran stays in power for next 5 years, 7 years, you will see Pakistanis going towards more radical prime ministers. Imran is the first one. And I wouldn't be surprised in 2 years, they will bring Imran and put him on the chair, and for 5 years, he will govern. And he will deal with the Afghans. He will essentially give it to them. Because the way he was handling TTP, he wanted to, bring them into the mainstream and do what the Afghanis really wanted him to do, what Afghans were very comfortable with. So Imran is the Taliban Khan. There is no doubt about it. It is their asset. आप देखो Muslim Brotherhood Imran को back कर रहा था completely. US में जो भी शोर मचा Muslim Brotherhood ने मचाया. Afghans are very, very clever. They want Imran to be back because they know Imran Khan is advantage of Afghanistan. Their borders are secure.
Amazing. I mean, I must say, what is the timeline that you would give to this?
Another 3 years, max. Maximum. 2027.
काफी सारे पाकिस्तानी ट्रोल्स आए थे यहाँ पर, वो बड़ा क्या जय खालिस्तान लिख के काफी कुछ इन लोगों ने यहाँ पर लिखा है. आई एम श्योर दे आर वाचिंग. नहीं वो आते हैं.
वो
दे दे
आते
दे
हैं जाते हैं, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, वो करने दो
आई
उनको
डोंट केयर।
जायका। कोई बात नहीं, खालिस्तान भी लाहौर में ही बनना है ना, तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है? उसकी तो सीट लाहौर है, पावर सीट ऑफ
नहीं वो पहले, नहीं नहीं उसके लिए सॉरी मैं इंटरजेक्ट करूंगा, थोड़ा सा
पावर।
डिसएग्रीमेंट है, क्योंकि उससे उससे पहले स्थान को खाली करना पड़ेगा।
वही मैं कह रहा हूँ ना, वो लाहौर, पहले लाहौर से शुरू करेंगे ना, पहले लाहौर को ही कर लेंगे, तो वो सीट ऑफ पावर इज लाहौर, दैट इज वेयर द
वो
स्ट्रगल विल
खाली
स्टार्ट।
करना पड़ेगा पहले, वो खाली होगा फिर बनेगा।
ये खोतिस्तान में इनका कुछ नहीं हो सकता है,
और वैसे भी
पिंगे
वहां
में
पर गधे शधे
घुसे।
काफी सारे होते हैं, तो खोतेस्तान बन गया
हाँ,
अपने आराम से।
I don't think this is the problem with Pakistanis. Unless and until they don't wake up to their own reality and they live in this Gaga land, this is exactly how they will lose, and they are losing, and they don't realize it. Any serious thinking Pakistani should be thinking about what next and how to save themselves rather than what they are going to do in neighborhood. ये करते करते पाकिस्तान ने अपने आप को खत्म कर दिया। इनकी इंटेलेक्चुअल हेड तो वैसे ही जीरो,
जी।
बट यू डोंट एक्सपेक्ट एनीथिंग आउट।
मैं आपको एक चीज दिखाता हूँ जो मैंने पहले, मेरे ऑडियंस ने देखी होगी, आई डोंट नो इफ यू सीन और नॉट। मैंने ये मैप बनाया था एक बारी, दिस इज नॉट अ ट्रोलिंग सेशन बट आई एक्चुअली पुट इन अ लॉट ऑफ थॉट इनटू दिस। आप मोबाइल पे देख रहे हो, आई जस्ट एक्सप्लेन टू यू। नीचे द ब्लू पार्ट नेक्स्ट टू
हम्म
राजस्थान गुजरात इज द रिपब्लिक ऑफ सिंध, where there is suzerainty of Bharat,
हम्म
right? Then I have given a Republic of Balochistan, which is a independent country completely, own foreign policy, own defense, everything. This thing, this particular thing, मेरे हिसाब से fits into the USA का game.
Even the Chinese will be willing to negotiate with them on that thing, na? The
हाँ
Chinese will be happy to give them a sovereign state and say that deal with us directly.
यार, आप
The
एक
Chinese
बेस
will be very
बेस
happy.
बेस दे दो हमको,
चाइना
ठीक है।
पैसा भी दे देगा, बेस भी ले लेगा, और उनको बोलेगा अपनी सियासत खुद करो, और वी आर वेरी हैप्पी विद यू द वे यू आर। The Chinese are
ठीक
more
है,
comfortable than the Americans.
फैंटास्टिक, सो यू एंड आई ऑन द सेम पेज। अब आते हैं
Absolutely.
पंजाब में। पंजाब में मेरे को काफी लोगों ने फीडबैक दिया है कि भाई साहब आपने पंजाब बहुत बड़ा बनाया है। नीचे वो दूसरा है ना, आई कीप फॉरगेटिंग दैट वो जो इनका सदर्न पंजाब में एक एस,
सियालकोट एरिया।
नहीं नहीं, इनका सदर्न पंजाब में भी एक 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 सेपरेटिस्ट मूवमेंट टाइप निकली थी। आई कीप फॉरगेटिंग द नेम ऑफ दैट, एस से नाम है उसका।
एक तो इनका वो पश्तून वाला है, एक तो इनका सिंध वाला है।
नहीं, ये सदर्न पंजाब में एक एक निकली थी, एस से नाम है, इट्स
फिर
नॉट सीस्तान, सीस्तान इज इन बलोचिस्तान।
दैट इज,
सरायकी,
अच्छा ओके।
ठीक है, दोस्त सराय की। वो मैं अभी मैंने डाला नहीं है बिकॉज आई हैव स्टडीड लिटिल बिट अबाउट सराय की, अभी मेरा इतना हाथ उसमें नहीं है कि मैं उसका मैप ड्रॉ कर सकूं, तो मैंने अभी भी पंजाब रखा हुआ है। उनका
नहीं,
स्ट्रगल
बट
मेरे दिमाग में चल।
this is very good for what it
जी,
is, for what your thought is. It's very good. That is how it disintegrates, no?
ठीक है। उसके बाद मैंने लिखा है इस्लामिक रिपब्लिक ऑफ पाकिस्तान विच इज पंजाब, ठीक है जी। अब
That
आप
will be
बोल
the
रहे हो
Afghanistan.
अब आप बोल रहे हो खाली शाली करना पड़ेगा उसको, चलो ठीक है, कोई कोई टेंशन नहीं है। ऊपर आइए आप गिलगित बाल्टिस्तान पीओ के, मैंने बोला भाई साहब ये सेपरेट होगा, मेरे हिसाब से पीओके शुड रिमेन विद पंजाब, ठीक है। इट्स अ हेल होल एज फार एज दीज टनल्स एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ इज कंसर्न्ड। हर जगह खोद खाद के इन लोगों ने चीजें छुपा रखी हैं, साफ करते करते 10 साल लग जाएंगे हमको, फिर भी नहीं होगा। तो
सही।
वो मैं थॉट प्रोसेस है मेरा कि नहीं है, गिलगित बाल्टिस्तान सेपरेट होके 10 साल क्वारंटाइन पीरियड में रहता है, और जब आप दिखाते हो कि आप इंसान हो फिर आओ, नहीं तो अपने चलते बनो, हमको कोई कुछ नहीं चाहिए आपसे।
But Gilgit Baltistan is very, very important to the Chinese.
इट इज तो यू नो दैट इज द कैरेट एंड स्टिक। तो
हाँ,
एंड
yes.
मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली मैंने जो लिखा है केपी, आई हैव रिटन केपी रिटर्न्स टू अफगानिस्तान, अग्रीमेंट्स साइंड विद भारत ऑन द बाउंड्री।
केपी का मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, टिल नीचे तक आप आ जाओ बराबर, कम टिल क्वेटा। It's a de facto KP land, which is they believe that they are going to be a part of Afghanistan in the future. It is going to happen. It's a matter of when, but it is going to happen. So KP to jayega hi jayega. Even Balochistan, the Chinese will be very happy to give it a sovereign status and run it de facto, because it is of immense importance. Balochistan, Gilgit and Baltistan is very, very important to us. Gilgit Baltistan is also strategically very important to us also. ये हमारे लिए भी बहुत important region, right?
अभी
POK
ये
and
मैप,
Punjab is going to stay there. and it will be the rut. The Pakistan, nobody, we would not like to touch it by a barge pole. मतलब ही नहीं बनता.
No, 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 no.
This area
पास ही
is
नहीं
not
जाना.
to be taken.
ना
So
ना
let
पास ही
them
नहीं जाना.
live in whatever rut they want to live in. We don't
वो
care.
मैंने वो पीओके अभी अपने पास डाल रखा है उसको. मेरे को आई वांट टू रिमूव दैट. मेरे को ना एवरी टाइम आई ओपन दिस मैप मेरे को वो दिखता है. मैं बोलता हूँ ना भाई, यहाँ बहुत सारे छेद हैं जमीन के अंदर.
नहीं,
निकालते निकालते
हाँ,
प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी हमको. पेस्ट कंट्रोल
absolutely,
करना पड़ेगा वहां पर जाके. लिटरली इट विल बी लाइक दैट.
absolutely. It will be the Chinese who will create.
या नाउ लास्टली मैं आपसे ये पूछूं कि यू वी नो द पाकिस्तानी आर्मी की डिप्लॉयमेंट यहाँ पर क्या है. ठीक है. एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द डिप्लॉयमेंट ऑब्वियसली भारत के साथ है. थोड़ी बहुत नॉर्थ में इन लोगों ने अफगानिस्तान के वहां पर लगा रखी है. अभी ईरान के चक्कर में हैव दे शिफ्टेड सम स्टफ फ्रॉम हियर टू देयर? व्हाट हैव दे डन?
I was hearing that they are planning to shift something, but as of now, there is no major shifting happened. It is still pretty much the same what it was. See, the problem is there. एक तो उनकी फौज, they don't have those many reserves which they can move around from here to there, right? They have a huge problem on the FPAC front. They are not going to move from there. They already are stretched very thin in Balochistan now because the way TTP has started making alliances with every other separatist organization has become a headache for them. So they are not in a position to put to make a lot of changes, to make a lot of deploymental changes happening on that region. So that is not happening as of now. Now the Iranians carried out a surgical strike after they carried out the airstrike, right? The Pakistanis ignored it; they let it go. That tells you that the Pakistanis know that इतने फ्रंट नहीं संभाल पाएगा, उतनी कैपेसिटी है नहीं उनके पास.
दे तो केम आउट एंड सेड कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, कुछ हुआ ही नहीं.
हाँ, they were like कुछ नहीं हुआ, वो कुछ आंखें बंद कर लो शतुरमुर्ग की तरह, become an ostrich and say nothing happened. So nothing happened, but the Iranians carried out a surgical strike. Now the surgical strikes are going to become very frequent, Adi, in this area. The moment Iranians see any movement around this Jaish-e-Adl belt, which is essentially supplying the ISKP, the Iranians will strike. So now Pakistan has to decide whether it wants to, export more of ISKP into Afghanistan, or they want to take a major panga with Iran at American behest. अमेरिकन उनको बैठने नहीं देंगे, ठीक है, अफगान भी नहीं बैठने देंगे. तो ये कैसे उसको डिप्लॉय करेंगे और ये कैसे वो गेम खेलेंगे, वो इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ वेरी ट्रिकी गेम कमिंग इन फ्यूचर. बट एनी मोमेंट इन दैट एरिया, Iranians will strike again and again, again and again.
So interesting times ahead.
So they say Palestine, Palestine, Palestine. They are going against every Palestine cause and supporting Israel. So that is the reality of Pakistan. So Pakistanis are stretched very, very thin right now. Extremely thin. अब आप ये देखो, जब से हमने एक और डिवीजन मूव किया है टुवर्ड्स रजौरी, that attacks have stopped.
Quiet, shanti.
Because now they know. If they do it again, they know it's going to come and then it will become a problem for them. कि कहाँ से बचाएंगे अपने आप, जगह से मार खाते हैं. तो वो गैप भी जो है वो प्लग हो गया. But we have to be very careful till elections because they would not let it go very easily. But our threats are somewhere else. Our threats are coming from somewhere else. We have to be more careful towards those areas rather than there.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, maybe next time we'll talk about those threats. But our threats are coming from. Yeah. So अब IMF का है. Now they have to go with the IMF deal, right? And the IMF again is becoming very stringent with them. The problem is with Pakistanis, in the next 3 months they have to pay out a $4.4 to $4.5 billion का payout. Around 4.55 का payout है, right? So how are they going to achieve it? So it's borrowing money, paying money, borrowing money, paying money. ठीक है, Saudi is giving them something. There are rollovers happening. They're trying to sell drones by copying the Chinese and saying they're better than the Bakhtars, but nobody is going to buy them. The J-17 is junk. Myanmar proved it's junk.
So there's a comment here which says Katoristan is making 8 Zen fighter as per information.
They can make. They have Jinnins who make nuclear weapons and fighters. They keep on, Lal Topi and his team keeps on going 7, 8, 9 Gen. यार ठीक है, आप 5 जन बना रहे हो, 6 जन बना रहे हो, बट आप अपना ये तो देखो ना, आपकी ट्रेनिंग कितनी खराब है.
you
Your
you you
men are
can't.
incapable of fighting at passes. You take heavy casualties in your barracks. TTP comes, kills 26 to 50 soldiers, and you guys cannot even do anything. So what are you going to do with a 5th gen fighter? तेल के पैसे नहीं है तुम्हारे पास, कितना उड़ाओगे उसको? तुम, you don't have men who can fight on the ground. The army is built by the men, the way they fight on the ground.
Yeah.
Pakistan has proved time and again that their men are incompetent men. Whether it is 65, 71, Afghanistan, anywhere Pakistanis, they take heavy casualties, they surrender. The moment heavy attack happens in KPK, इनके रेंजर हाथ खड़े कर लेते हैं, तो 40-40, 50-50 सरेंडर करके बैठ जाते हैं, फिर उनको वो वीडियो आता है.
हाँ, कितनी बार आया है.
कितनी बार
Correct.
आया है?
Correct.
Imagine some other country. Have you seen any other country fighting insurgency where soldiers actually go ahead and they surrender? Have you seen soldiers protesting saying that save us? A year and a half ago, there was a huge protest in KPK by the Pakistani Rangers saying that the TTP is killing us, save us. What kind of a force is that? What are you building up? तो बेसिकली खा खा के मोटे कर रहे हैं ये लोग. ट्रेनिंग इनकी है नहीं, इक्विपमेंट इनके पास है नहीं. What 5th generation are you talking about, guys? Illusion, crap.
नहीं, वो तो illusion तो
हमारे एनसीसी के लड़के उनसे ज्यादा टाइट हैं. Honestly, our NCC boys are much better than these Pakistani Rangers. That is how I compare the NCC versus the Rangers. Not forget about our, peripheral soldiers. They're much more professional. The Rangers can't even face the NCC boys. Same level. So Pakistan has a problem. They can talk about anything they want to talk about. But what is the ground showing is the picture is very different from what they try to portray. And nobody is blind. They live in a well. They think the whole world is blind. Only they can see. But they don't realize that outside that well, there is a huge world. And the world has eyes, world has minds, world has
yeah,
brains.
yeah.
So they think everybody is as brainless as they themselves are. That is not true.
नहीं, वो तो that is a trait I failed. मेरे को समझ नहीं आता. इनके स्ट्रीट इंटरव्यूज भी देखो. कहता है, आज मैं पता नहीं, किसी ने मेरे को एक क्लिप भेजा दोपहर में. आई लिटरली लाफ्ड. कहता है, हमारे पास कोई सब झूठ है, कोई भारत की इकोनॉमी कुछ नहीं है. ये पता है क्या करते हैं? ये जाके पैसे खिला देते हैं न्यूज़पेपर को, वो न्यूज़पेपर रिपोर्ट प्रिंट कर देता है.
अभी वो
मैं बोला,
उसने वो
भैया ये कहाँ से
कहीं से भी आते हैं. उसने वो लिखा था कि हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट पाकिस्तान इज फॉर इंडियन ट्रेड. You don't even understand basic economics, and you are the people who are driving the narrative of your country on economics. How silly, how stupid you guys are. That tells you how bad you are, how bad your education system is.
इनके प्यारे प्यारे यूट्यूबर देख लो आप.
उनको तो रहने ही दो ना. वो तो मतलब कॉमेडी देखनी है तो देखो, हंसना है तो देखो, उसके आगे
नहीं,
उधर कुछ नहीं.
मैं तो देखता नहीं साहब, और मैं तो प्रोपोगेट करता हूँ. ना देखो, उनको पैसे दे रहे हो. पाकिस्तान की फॉरेक्स बढ़ा देते हो आप.
नहीं, वो बात सही है. दैट यू आर राइट. वो अब रील आती है ना, बीच में किसी ने डाली होती है, तो इंसान वो 2 मिनट 30 सेकंड्स का वो इट्स लाइक अ स्निपेट, लाफिंग स्निपेट, वो देख लो.
उसमें भी मैं देखता हूँ बंदा कौन है किसका अकाउंट है वो. उसको ही पैसे नहीं देने मैंने.
दैट इज वेरी
कौन
ट्रू.
है, बंदा कौन है, किसका अकाउंट है.
Pakistanis are stuck in their own game of Islamism.
Yeah.
It's the Islamism which is going to consume Pakistan. जिस चीज पे वो बने हैं ना, उसी चीज ने उनको खत्म कर देना, और उसने उनको खत्म कर दिया. It's hollowing them out. It will be a hollow thing. It will be gone. Nemesis of them. The root cause of their birth is going to be the root cause of their nemesis. That is what will happen with Pakistan.
एक आया GSD क्लब. चल भाई,
ठीक है.
पाकिस्तान. नहीं, वेरी गुड. ही शुड विश फॉर इट यार. अरे क्या बात है, विश करो यार, कोई टेंशन नहीं है.
अच्छी बात.
डजंट मैटर.
We are not as petty as you guys are. Don't worry.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's get some questions यार. थोड़े से सवाल जवाब कर लेते हैं, थोड़े से कमेंट्स ले लेते हैं. We've got almost 1900 people watching. तो गाइस जरा लाइक्स होनी चाहिए. 600 लाइक्स हैं यार. थोड़ा I know you guys are all having fun with Pakistan, but थोड़ा सा like पे भी concentrate कर दो. 601. I'm sure we can do lot more, and because at the end of it, वीडियो बनाना मेरा काम, लाइक करना आपका काम, ताकि ये प्रमोट होए ज़्यादा and it'll hit a larger audience here. Thank you so much for all the help till now and looking forward for more. दूसरा चीज, आप लोग इस चैनल की तरफ कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं यूजिंग द क्यूआर कोड या फिर पेपैल फॉर डायरेक्ट कंट्रीब्यूशंस, या फिर आप सुपर स्टिकर्स और सुपर चैट्स का भी इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. लेट्स गेट इनटू व्हाट यू गाइस आर सेइंग. सो देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, we'll kind of run with them. The Wolf has become a member. Thank you so much. Okay, Kapil ji has become a member. Once again, thank you so much. And Thought Provocator says strategic depth was a deep hole Pakistan dug for themselves.
See, the Pakistanis believe that they are going to control the Islamization, the global terror through Saudis. They thought that the Wahhabism factor of the Saudis, they're going to make a fool of Saudis for years to come and milk both American and the Saudis. What they didn't realize is the realities which are changing in the Middle East, the way things are changing globally. They couldn't catch up with the technology. They couldn't see the change, oil, how Saudis were trying to go away from their oil economy and try to build a robust economy. They missed all the signs. So they were very comfortable living in this jihadi world, which they created in 79. And for 30 years, let's agree that Pakistanis milked it completely. I remember there was a time in the 90s when the Americans would not believe the Indians and they would stand with the Pakistanis on Kashmir issue and, put a lot of pressure on us. So we had seen some very hard time. It's only after the Americans were hit in 2001, they realized the enormity of the terrorism the Pakistanis have been able to give present to the world and to them.
Correct.
And the problem now with Pakistanis is they thought it is a strategic debt. It turned out to be a strategic big hole for them. It is strategic death for Pakistanis. The way they handled. Because Imran thought he's going to be there for next 30 years. His Faz was thinking the same way that he's going to be next ISI. From ISI chief, he'll become the army chief and they will have a very lovey-dovey relationship with Afghan Taliban. But that didn't happen. So the Pakistanis didn't, completely discounted that factor. Imran completely discounted that factors, and they've dug a hole for themselves, which Pakistanis always do. They end up digging a hole for themselves and jump into that. So they have jumped in Afghanistan. They've jumped everywhere. Now in Afghanistan also they've jumped. So that is what has happened with the Pakistanis.
Pratyush Mishra ji, thank you so much for your contribution. Let's see, Gopal Krishna ji, thank you so much. He says, what do you think Taliban will claim Gilgit-Baltistan also?
See, the Taliban is an expansionist force. Once they claim Pakistan, then they will claim other regions. They will claim Jammu Kashmir. They will claim Tajikistan. They will claim Uzbekistan. They will claim every, Uyghur, Turkmenistan, jisko bolte hain. Anciently it was known as Turkmenistan. The problem is how real it is that it will fall to them. It might not fall to them. The reality is that Chinese have made investments in those areas. The Chinese have a firm control in those areas. And even at some point of time, there were Chinese footprints on that area as well. They had foot on the ground as well. So the Chinese are very well, equipped and very well strategically placed to take that over rather than the Afghans. So the Chinese have more of a chance than the Afghans to come to the Gilgit-Baltistan. Right. So you have to see who is realistically in a position to take over as well. And Afghanistan, it will take them time to get their foothold, and they want to do it through pseudo governments. They want to get the Maulanas in power in Pakistan. Imran was a soft Taliban. The game of Taliban would be to see, somebody like Rizvi, or not even Rizvi, but somebody like
Fazlur Rahman,
Masood Azhar's son to be the next prime minister of Pakistan, or this guy Hafiz Saeed's son to be ka beta, he could Talase, he could be a prime minister of Pakistan. That is how Taliban is looking to take over. They want the Maulanas to come in power in Pakistan. They want Maulanas to take over. So it's a slow thing. It's going to happen, but it'll take time. It's going to take time.
That's true. एंग्री हनुमान जी, थैंक यू सो मच। पाक की फटी पड़ी है मर्व के एंड भारत शक्ति से। ओ यार, मर्व मूव की जरूरत नहीं है, इनको तो फूक मारो गिर जाएंगे। मर्व
मैं
तो
बोल रहा हूँ, the soldiers are incompetent, they cannot fight. Forget about, high-tech things. They cannot fight. They surrender. It's a surrender army. At best, throw some food at them and they will come crawling. That is how bad Pakistan is, and that is how bad economically it is going to get. Pakistan also have right now Pakistani problem एक और है कि पाकिस्तान में ना internal rift बहुत है आर्मी में इस वक्त चल रही। इन्होंने पहले भी कोर्ट मार्शल किए हैं, अभी भी कोर्ट मार्शल्स कर रहे हैं, ऑफिसर्स के कोर्ट मार्शल हो रहे हैं। दे आर मॉनिटरिंग ईच एंड एवरी social media of their own officers, of their own soldiers. It is culminating in Pakistan. There is a rift in army, and this rift is going to play in next 3 years. The moment Asif Muni's time comes to an end is when you will see the other side of the Pakistani army coming and taking over this and throwing these guys out. That is when people will run to Adiala and bring Imran Khan out. So
दैट्स
Pakistan, you don't
इंटरेस्टिंग।
need more. Pakistanis are going to fight themselves.
Dr. MPC Saab, thank you so much. In case there is a takeover by Afghans or their proxy, what is our contingency plan to secure their nuclear assets? Yikes, that's scary.
Now that is a scary situation, but you know what? I think there are two things into it. If things are to be believed, the security of the nuclear, which they are talking about, the peripheral security, Chinese do hold some amount of that security.
American
If you read
nuclear.
some papers, if some American papers are to be read, the Chinese had given a guarantee saying that we can secure the facilities in 48 hours, right? So the world is already thinking about their new. It's not going to go rogue. It's not that it'll get into hands of somebody. But then yes, that is the biggest worry, and we should be worried about it, and we should war game this scenario because this scenario will come. ये होगा. So इसको war game करना बहुत important है, and we should be seriously thinking about how to go about it. Even if we have to do a deal with the Chinese and the Americans and find a joint way to control them, we will have to. But I think this is a real threat which
ये
we should
तो
really be
I
careful.
don't think there will be any strategic competition between any country when it comes to something like
There,
this.
there could be more
वो तो
cooperation than
yeah
competition
yeah
on these things.
yeah yeah yeah.
Unless until the Pakistanis start selling their nukes one by one to other countries,
नहीं,
which they are
वो तो
thinking of.
I have done a little research. मैंने तो मैप वैप भी दिखाए थे इसके अंदर एंड मैं चाहिए तो अभी भी दिखा सकता हूँ where Saudis and Pakistanis they've had a deal long time back and funny thing is Saudi desert के बीच में एक facility है, missile facility है,
Hmm.
which is a carbon copy of a missile facility in Pakistan, absolute carbon copy. And it
Hmm.
is well known कि ये जो Saudi missile facility है, it's got underground, under mountain bloody caves here, where cars are going inside.
It is the Chinese. They wanted the nuclear thing. Na? They are making a deal with the Americans, but the Chinese were very happy to offer them these nuclear
हाँ,
weapons.
but वो हुआ
They
नहीं ना,
wanted to make a deal
ये
with the
पाकिस्तानी
Saudis.
दे रहे हैं इनको।
हाँ, तो वो पाकिस्तान ही दे रहा है. वो पाकिस्तानी मॉडल ही बेसिकली रेप्लिकेट करके उन्होंने सऊदी में किया. But this
And
is a scenario which is the worst scenario,
worst
and
case
this
scenario.
needs to be worked on. This I agree.
मैंने तो इसके ऊपर मैंने काफी रिसर्च करी थी, मैंने एक प्रेजेंटेशन भी दी थी यहाँ पर एंड शो के ऊपर एंड आई हैव पुट इन दोज मैप्स। मैंने कार्बन कॉपी दिखाया दोनों का, यार ये क्या है भाई।
हाँ, they were
You know,
building it. They were building it. The
पाकिस्तानियों ने
Saudis
जाके
are
वहां
very.
पर
See, right now the Americans are so desperate that they are willing to give Saudis the nuclear arsenal.
या नहीं, दूसरी तरफ से देखिए, अगर मिडिल ईस्ट को इफ द अमेरिकंस नीड टू बैलेंस, साउदीज विद
Hmm.
अ न्यूक्लियर वेपन विल काइंड ऑफ बैलेंस इट आउट, क्योंकि
Yes,
साउदीज को
because they
एक जो इजराइल दे कैन वॉच आई टू आई एंड इरानियंस दे कैन वॉच आई टू आई देन, सो थोड़ा सा इट
more
विल
of the
काइंड ऑफ
Iranians.
या इट विल काइंड ऑफ
More of the
काम डाउन।
Iranians, because
करेक्ट,
Iran is now getting very close to the nuclear threshold. They have not been able
या
to prevent it. Obama
या
tried it, couldn't do it. Trump tried it, couldn't do it. The Israelis have been sabotaging them, but it's gonna happen. Then the only way to balance it is if the Saudis have the arsenal. Then it
चलिए
counterbalances.
डन। कार्तिक जी, थैंक यू सो मच। क्या सोच के जिन्होंने पाकिस्तान बनाया, इतना शॉर्ट साइटेड आदमी को इतना बड़ा डिसीजन लेने के पोजीशन में किसने बिठा दिया?
Well, हर
ये
शाख पे
तो है।
उल्लू बैठा है, अंजाम में गुलिस्तां क्या होगा? That is what I will say about this one. So basically, yeah, that sums up Pakistan and Jinnah.
Thank you, Hanuman ji. Thank you so much once again. Biggest enemy is USA, UK, deep state for Bharat. Sure. Deep state का
They
एक नया
always are.
नाम है.
They always are. They always were. If you look at the great game, the British player, prepared in the 1930s, they're playing to the textbook. It is happening, but we are attuned and we are aware of it. So we play our own game. It will always happen. It is always going to happen. No country is going to let any other country become bigger than them or a more
Correct,
powerful than them. Right?
correct,
That is how
correct.
the global order works. It's been working since the time of tribes. No tribe wanted the other tribe to be big. Right? It's essentially a human thing. So yes, there will be games and there will be counter games, and it's an endless game.
नॉमन शेख साहब, आई वाज वंडरिंग आप कहाँ थे नॉमन साहब? मैं तो वेट कर रहा था यार, पाकिस्तान अफगानिस्तान की बात हो रही है, आप आए नहीं, तो thank you for coming in. Thank you so much. Firstly, Taliban will never go against the Iran like the US wants. Both Iran and Taliban share intel against ISKP, and we all know who funds ISKP against Russia. Now,
Absolutely.
this is
You are right.
interesting timing क्योंकि 2 दिन पहले रशिया में एक अटैक हुआ है which has been linked to the ISKP.
Not only that, see, Afghans know that right now taking Panga with Iran is not going to give them anything. They are going to get into a perpetual war, which will finish their economy off, which will finish their control off, and which will give Pakistan a chance to interfere again in Afghanistan. And the Iranians know this too. And common enemy for Pakistan and Iran is ISKP, because that is essentially new Pakistan's new terror weapon, wonder weapon, which they want to call it. Right? पहले Taliban था, पहले Al Qaeda था, अब ISKP बना. So it is a common enemy, and yes, Pakistanis will try to export it as long as they want to export it, right till the Middle East. But they've been caught this time. Everybody knows where it is coming from, and everybody is prepared to counter it. So essentially on the same lines, I mean, Noman Saab is absolutely right on this.
Ranja Romeo, thank you so much. He says, how should we deal with Taliban in case they want to claim and make moves towards claiming and capturing POK and Gilgit-Baltistan? What should we do?
See, that's a long time off. How the situation will unfold in Pakistan, a lot depends on that. As I said, the Afghans will be looking at shadow governance. Afghans will be looking at somebody who's controlling Pakistan from a Maulana point of view, right? So in that scenario, loosely, the structure of Pakistan will be the same, except that the Taliban will have a strategic death in Pakistan, and they will be calling it an Islamic nation and running the way they want to run it. But looking at the Pakistani economy and the way if it collapses and the loans they have to give to Chinese, I don't think the Afghans will come into Gilgit-Baltistan. They have very little to gain from that.
चित्राल का उनका है क्लेम, एंड
चित्राल का
ओपनली
उनका
कहते हैं
claim है, but
चित्राल के आगे नहीं आना हमको.
they will be willing to wait it out, and they will rather take money from China and let them come and establish themselves and put that ATM thing slowly into these areas to essentially trouble the Chinese and take money from them and strengthen themselves, rather than coming and claiming and saying कि हमारा और लड़ना शुरू हो जाए Chinese के साथ और हमारे साथ. So China is a bigger threat in Gilgit-Baltistan to us than honestly Afghanis are. That's how I see it.
Sunil Ganjuji, thank you so much. He says, my Kashmiri brother.
Thank you, sir. Always.
Namanji, thank you so much. He says, what condition of Pakistan is optimal for India, where it is weak state, but there's no refugee crisis, migration to India? Will we have to step in just to stop it?
I don't think we need to step in and we need to stop it. See, I understand our urge to take that area back because it essentially belongs to us. It's a part of our country. But understand something, with the area comes a lot of liability, and that is the people of Pakistan, right? And you don't want the people of Pakistan. Now, there is no mechanism where we can export the people somewhere else and we can take the land. That is not going to happen. So I don't think we are going to step in or we are going to put the boots in. We will like to see them in as much chaos as they are. The more chaotic they are, the better for us, because it gives us time to do our things which are meant for us. So I don't think we should be overly worried about getting the boots down. Yes, refugee crisis is something which can build up, but then again, CA is going to take care of it. One, the minorities will be taken care of. Rest we are not obliged. यार जाओ ना अफगानिस्तान में रहो. You wanted an Islamic nation and वहाँ के लोगों को वैसे भी Islamic nation चाहिए. वो यहाँ क्यों आएंगे? They'll be happy living with the Afghans. They'll be happy living under the Taliban.
Correct.
They, the fear and radicalization. उनके लिए Islam is more important. So,
Correct.
their natural shift will be towards the Taliban. They will aid the Talibanis coming into Pakistan. Remember, if you guys will YouTube some videos when Pakistan went into economic crisis last year, when they were really bankrupt, there were a few reporters from Pakistan who went across Pakistan in markets and they asked the question, why do you think Pakistan is going bankrupt? 70% of the people said because we are not Islamic enough. If we have complete Islamic law, we will not be bankrupt. And this is not, I am saying, this is not an Indian saying, this is a Pakistani reporter on a street in Islamabad, in Lahore, in Pindi, in every area of Pakistan, talking to a common Pakistani, a shopkeeper. And the 70% response is because we are not Islamic enough. So Pakistanis are very attuned to the Islamic law. They will naturally gravitate towards the Afghans. We will not have to step. We only have to worry about the minorities living there, and we shall take care of it.
वो भी हो गया. Primo
Since CAA
555. हाँ, say sir, we know क्या हो रहा है. It's called Kutai, but we are here for the juicy details. I'm sure you got a lot. Today was
we
quite a
give
hit.
you as much as we can on very realistic terms. We try to make a very realistic juice out of it, not some random,
Yeah,
hallucinating juice nahi bana rahe the. It was a
हाँ.
fresh, natural juice we tried to give you, not with preservatives and all that. So I hope you like the taste.
I'm sure we've still got 1900 people sitting with us. So, Dr. MPC, thank you so much once again. He says, sir, if an adult in Pakistan wants to become rational, they have to wash out all the lies taught by their parents, schools, and madrasas. And then some liberal like Professor Hoodboy messes up their worldview again. I can't find anything wrong in this comment.
Absolutely.
The
This
guy is
is
such
this
an
is their reality.
idiot. It's not funny. Oh God.
It is their reality. It is absolutely their reality. You can't. I mean, you can't add something to it. Sums it up very nice.
Thank you, Raja sir and Aadi sir. Always wait for 10 p.m. Thank you, Angry Hanumanji, once again. Yeah. Jack in the Box comment, as for Pakistan news, there has been a meeting between top Afghan official with Pakistan Charge d'Affaires, and Charge d'Affaires is traveling shortly to Islamabad with Afghan message for PM Shehbaz Sharif.
This is what I mentioned when we started, that they had a meeting yesterday also. What's his name? It starts with S. It's Akhundzada, but it's I forgot the first name of the guy. He's the governor right now of KP area.
Okay.
Host ka wahi hai governor. And
I'm not sure.
Same thing, yeah. They're telling Pakistanis back off, and we are not going to take your Durand line. We are not going to take this nonsense. And this is our region, and we will trade very freely into this KP area. The Pakistanis जो भी control करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं वो होगा नहीं. And that is why this is going to happen.
Mullah Shirin Akhund?
Shirin Akhund, yes.
Thanks, Shirin Akhund.
So unke, Shirin Akhund had, it's very, very clear. The message is very clear to the Pakistanis. Ye hota rahega. This will happen. This year is going to be very, very hot for Pakistan when the Afghan border comes in. Afghan situation pe they are going to have problems.
Dr. MPC, once again, thank you so much. So, do you think Pakistan arsenal has a lot of neutron bombs because they want to preserve infrastructure in India and wipe out the people? No, it doesn't work like that.
The Pakistanis have always talked about having tactical nukes, more tactical nukes, and they do have more nukes in their arsenal. But how much control they have on those arsenal is one thing. How much they have, they can use this is another thing. And are they in a position to use it on India? I don't think so. Right? Because the way Pakistan is shaping, the Pakistani security is shaping up, I don't think they're looking at India right now. Even if they're looking at India, they're looking from a very different angle. They're playing a very different game in India right now. It's not the conventional terrorism game they're playing. They're playing a long shot game, but a different game khel rahe. So nukes, I don't think they're going to do that in desperation. Mujhe nahi lagta ki, we have to be overly worried about these nukes. What Pakistan needs to be worried about is more bombers, suicide bombers walking into Pakistan and blowing themselves up. Pakistan has to protect itself coming next 2 years. It's going to be a mess in Pakistan. They will not have their, eyes taken off from that region and try to think कि हमने इंडिया के साथ क्या करना है. वैसे भी उनकी इकोनॉमी का इतना बुरा हाल है कि they can't even think about the nuke. The day Pakistanis think about the nuke, it is end of Pakistan, finished. और उनका वो जो ब्लैकमेल था वो हमने बालाकोट में तोड़ दिया. They know it very well. So जो उनके वो दिखाने के दांव थे वो टूट चुके हैं. And nukes is not something, it's not a child toy कि you will use it on somebody. The day they even think about it, they are over as a nation. No, the whole world will be after them and the whole world will finish them off. They'll completely wipe them off the earth. First we will and then the rest of the world. Nobody will tolerate this nonsense. So they can talk
Suhasji,
about it.
sorry. Suhasji, thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Aadi finally could catch a live session after a long time. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You should catch it more often. PHGE hai. I don't know what that is. Durand line is 99% fence. I don't think it is. Is it?
No, it is not. Most Durand line is not 99% fenced. In fact, the Pakistanis went for fencing, and that is where the trouble started. The Afghans don't let them put the fence. The moment they put a fence somewhere, the Afghans come and they uproot it and they throw it. And they have a problem. So no, 99% fencing is wrong information. Maybe the Pakistanis for their own consumption would have told the Pakistanis we have 99% fenced it. उसका बिल विल निकाल लिया होगा आर्मी ने और खा गए होंगे और बोला होगा हमने फेंस लगा दिया है. That could happen. But in reality, if you check, no, there is no 99% fence.
What is the status of Afghan deportation? Is it complete? No, 1.7 million people have been thrown out.
So it's not complete, but it's still under progress. It's still happening. And I think by this year end, about 80-85% of Afghans would be deported. Unless the Pakistanis stop deporting them and say to Afghanis that we are willing to keep them for some time. Also remember that, last time what the Pakistanis, a critical mistake they did was that there were a lot of relatives of the Taliban leadership, which was sitting in Pakistan. And they went ahead and they also sent them back. So that also pissed the Afghans a lot. So that they had that diplomatic chance to, make amends with them and keep their relatives. चलो ठीक है, but नहीं, वो इनको लगा कि नहीं हम डंडा चलाएंगे और वो डंडा चला के जो है हम अफगानियों को लाइन पे ले आएंगे तो वो डंडा इनके सर पे उल्टा पड़ने वाला है. वो पड़ भी गया
already.
That is the problem with it.
450 crores worth of narcotics seized by Coast Guard and Navy. 6 to 7 Kyrgyzstanis arrested. Sir का favorite subject है वो तो.
This is going to become a very, very common thing now.
450 crore कहाँ है यार? I mean, when you and I did the show, we were talking 3,000 crores and all that.
300 crore का था, 450 crore अभी इन्हें पकड़ा है. वो I think the one he is talking about is the seizure which has been made near Tamil Nadu.
नहीं. That is also 2,500 crores, by the way.
हाँ, ये किस चीज का 450?
ये Coast Guard ने पकड़ा है of the
Coast Guard. Small amount. Look, we are talking about thousands of crores of narcotics here, which Pakistan is dealing in the region right now. So this is just a tip of an iceberg. This is a small drop in that ocean.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
These seizures are going to be very, very common, because Pakistanis are desperate. They need their shadow economy to work, and they need their narcotics to move. So does the Afghans. So this is going to happen every day.
Ram Kumarji, thank you so much. He says, why didn't Pakistan settle Afghan refugees in Gilgit-Baltistan and POK?
So they settled them in Afghanistan, in POK and Gilgit-Baltistan, so they would have given that de facto area to them. The threat is from them. So how would you expect the Pakistanis to make them settle? See, don't see it as a barren land. It is strategically very, very important. People who understand geostrategy, who understand geopolitics, who understand, Gilgit-Baltistan is a very, very important area strategically, and not from now, but right from the Britishers when they took it over. Right? The Britishers had a presidency set up in Gilgit-Baltistan. So it's a strategically very, very important area, because this is where the Russians have a lot of interest in as well. This is where the Chinese have a lot of interest in. This is where we have a lot of interest in. This is where Afghanistanis have a lot of interest in. So it's not easy for Pakistan to bring in somebody and say कि तुम यहाँ बस जाओ. And if they bring the Afghans in, then they're giving them control. And if they give them control, the Chinese will not let that happen. The Chinese would not like Afghans to come and settle in this area. Neither would we like the Afghans to come and settle in this area. So it's not very simple. It's not the Pakistanis' call कि वो किसको लाएंगे और किसको बसाएंगे.
कपिल जी पूछते हैं, do you think China will have a first mover advantage over the mineral wealth in Afghanistan? Is it the only country to recognize the Taliban government?
Yes, they already have. They have already moved that. They have secured good contracts with the Afghanis. They are doing some amount of mining in that area. Their companies are already moved into them and moved into Afghanistan. They're already into different parts of mining. So yes, Chinese do have the first mover advantage. The problem, what happened was the Pakistanis thought they're going to be the brokers between the Chinese and the Taliban, and they're going to take a cut every deal the Chinese make with Afghanistan. Because the Pakis gave the Chinese saying that ये आ जाएंगे हम खाली हम इनको control कर सकते हैं. But the Chinese also smartly, उनके साइड से निकलकर डायरेक्ट डील करके तालिबान के साथ. And yes, Chinese companies do have the first mover advantage. The Chinese companies are mining in these areas. So are some of the European companies, but Chinese have the first mover advantage.
So
Absolutely. So are we also, but not to that scale where the Chinese are. Let's be honest.
No, we Chinese have got a very productive area in the northeast. वो जो बदकशन वाला area है, that has got the maximum wealth there.
They're doing the bitumen mining कर रहे हैं, copper mining कर रहे हैं.
वो तो that's the fault of geography यार. अगर हम वहाँ बैठे हो तो हम ले रहे होते. हम लोग नीचे से जाते हैं ना ऊपर.
Even smuggling कर रहे हैं यार. The Chinese smugglers are in that.
But what we've done is also amazing. Taliban has now given money to the Iranian, $35 million, which is basically American money to Iran again, for the use of Chabahar port and creating a small facility there.
See, because the Karachi port has to be taken out of context, no? Yeah. Afghanistan does need supplies. कहाँ से आएगा? India is the only one which is willing to do that with the Chabahar port. The Iranians also smell an opportunity.
Yeah.
So
damn good.
So it's very, very important. That is what the Pakistanis promised the Chinese, no, Gwadar में कि ये बन जाएगा international port तुम्हारा, तो उसको तो counter करना ही करना है. Then Chabahar is a very good counter, and Afghanis will be very happy to do that. अब आप ये भी देखो ना, Afghanistan is not only Afghanistan is preparing for every kind of weapon. Aadi, they are even using a water weapon. The dam building in Kabul.
Yeah, Kabul.
It is. Acha, the Afghanis have a very clear take. This was never a part of any agreement between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So it is ours, and we are going to build it. Now the Pakistanis are surpitofying कि अब क्या करें हम, इसका तो हमारे पास जवाब ही नहीं. यहाँ से तो वैसे IWT से कट गए, वहां से अफगान काटेंगे.
धीरे धीरे करके वही है टारगेट, और क्या IWT में आना है, और क्या.
मैं वही कह रहा हूँ, IWT से तो वैसे भी कट गए ना, इंडो वाटर ट्रीटी में से वैसे भी अब उनका जा रहा है. वी आर बिकमिंग वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट विद इट. वी आर नॉट सीडिंग टू इट एनीमोर, राइट? सो वी आर गोइंग टू चेंज दैट इक्वेशन वेरी सून. द अफगान्स आर गोना बिल्ड द डैम ऑन द अदर एंड. So what happens to Pakistani economy? What happens to its agricultural lands? It becomes barren.
Yeah.
Strategically, it's like squeezing them out, finish them off.
Absolutely. देवेंद्र राउत जी बड़ा डेंजरस सा सवाल पूछते हैं, कहते हैं, why doesn't India do something with Afghanistan and try to create havoc in Pakistan? Afghanis get KP and get weekend dividend Pakistan.
Why do we need to do that? देखो, when your enemy is making mistakes and it is self-destructing itself, why do you want to do something? The Pakistanis are on a self-destruction mode, and why should we become something like Pakistan? Let them self-destruct. They're self-destructing. They will destruct themselves. What is the hurry? There is no hurry. We will anyway complicate the matters, and it will give them an option saying that काफिर आ गया और इस्लाम की लड़ाई है. दूर बैठो, लड़ने दो. दोनों मुसलमान आपस में लड़ रहे हैं. Who is a better Muslim? That is exactly what the fight is about in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Who is the real Muslim?
Such stupidity. Such stupidity, I must say. It's absolute stupidity. But on that note, I have a really funny comment as the last one that we will take for the evening. Vivek says, can someone ask the Pakistani trolls to hit the like before they leave out of shame?
There should be there should be a button like that actually. Troll shamed, you know. Yeah, they had amazing trolls. I remember that girl called Seher Shinawari. उसने भी हाथ खड़े कर दिया. वो भी उसने भी हाथ जोड़ दिए. उसका भी हो गया. You know, so that is the quality of Pakistani trolls. So it's,
Chalo.
you know, they're
Anyways,
shameless.
there are two chota ones we'll take. Agrawal ji, thank you so much. US again is playing with fire. Your comment. Lovely.
US has
Excellent.
always played with fire. US is playing with fire everywhere. So nothing new
He
in
should be
that.
busy.
US
He
will
should
keep
be
on playing
busy.
with fire. Yeah. So US is playing with fire since ages now. 47 से US खेल रहा है World War II के बाद. It's all fire with US.
Yeah.
Somewhere fire,
And
somewhere light, somewhere water. That's how US operates.
Dr. MPC seems to like your logic and stuff. Thanks so much once again, by the way. Sir, if IMF sees places like Parkview City, Islamabad, will they give loans? 110 million PKR for a Dubai like dancing fountain for New Year's.
That's a good one. See, now they have formed something called SIFC, the
SIFC.
Pakistanis. So SIFC is essentially army के पास है, and they will be calling the policy shots. Every shot, you know, agricultural वैसी land उन्होंने लिया हुआ है. Point ये, bros, who wants to go to Pakistan and dance when the country is ready to lynch you just because you have something written on your piece of cloth? Is it a safe place to go and have party and dance? You have better places in the world where you would like to go and enjoy. I don't think Pakistan is somewhere where you put 100 million just to go and dance and give it to Dubai. Pakistan is not becoming Dubai. Pakistan is more becoming like Nangarhar and you know, Kabul. So मुझे नहीं लगता कि वैसी उस टाइप की इन्वेस्टमेंट कोई भी बेवकूफी करेगा पाकिस्तान में करने की. Unless and until you permit dances in burqa and in lambi dadis, the Afghans permit that, then you might think about it. But I don't see anybody putting money into it.
ना, अरे सारे बदमाश हैं, दुबई में बैठ के दारू पीते हैं, बदतमीज
हाँ,
लोग.
अपने घरों में पीते हैं, पाकिस्तान में बैठ के पीते हैं.
हाँ.
दुबई तो छोड़ो.
एंड बाय द वे, पाकिस्तान में गाइस सबके लिए एक छोटा सा असाइनमेंट है, जरा हिडन अंडरग्राउंड पार्टीज के बारे में आप देखिएगा और क्या क्या चीजें होती हैं वहां पर. 1-1.5 महीने पहले एक बस्ट हुआ था जहां पर लड़कियों को उठा उठा के लेके जा रहे थे, बेचारी थी, कुडंट वॉक, दे वर सो ड्रंक.
They were
So this,
drunk. You have these rave parties which happened in
yeah,
Islamabad last time. Those guys were actually making out on the table, यार. मतलब
yeah,
यहाँ पे नहीं ऐसा होता जो वहाँ होता है. And those mini skirts and all that. Look at
yeah.
Bajwa's granddaughter. ना? She's a model.
हाँ, उसकी मॉडल है
उसको
वो तो.
Google कर लो. वो model है वो. Right. Rihanna wears longer clothes than her. So Pakistanis have a very
नहीं
duplicitous
नहीं, अभी
lifestyle.
रिहाना को नहीं बोलना, रिहाना इज प्रो इंडिया.
That's why I said she wears bigger clothes than her. You know, I was complimenting her. No, it's not about that. To be honest, it was just a joke. We're not commenting on
No,
any
it
dresses.
doesn't
But the
matter,
point
but
I
you
was
know,
trying to make
the
is
culture is what
a
we're talking about.
society
Yeah, yeah.
a society which calls itself over Islamic, and
Yeah.
the generals who want to make Pakistan over Islamic, they should look at what they're doing in their own. So that duplicity is what we're trying to call out, not anything else.
नहीं, that's absolutely true. And बाकी जो करना है करो यार, enjoy yourself. Who cares?
Your life, we don't care. Yeah, everybody has a right to life.
So my dad is from Himachal. You know, he used to tell us that वहाँ पर हिमाचल में ना सोलन में सोलन नंबर 1 बनती है विस्की. कि
Yeah, I've heard
वो
about it.
पूरी एक टाइम पे पूरी विस्की पाकिस्तान जाती थी वो, क्योंकि पाकिस्तानी
Sir,
आर्मी ने
even
कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रखा था.
LOC पे अभी भी in terms of when we have some working good relations with them,
हाँ
ceasefire के
वो.
वक्त they would take whiskey from us and give us chicken in or mutton in return. Whiskey is their only demand की शराब पिला दो. Very very common in Pakistan, and they do have bars. They do have bottle shops.
Yeah.
In Pakistan.
वो है ना,
They
3% they like to keep the 3% Christians there क्योंकि उनके कार्ड के ऊपर सब पी जाते
हाँ,
हैं.
उनके खर्चे में से उनके नाम पे वो लोग वो सारी शराब जो है वो बेचते हैं.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's true.
So they have everything in Pakistan.
That's true. Sarji, thank you so much. This is a wonderful evening spent. I think the people have also really enjoyed this particular session. And आपने 2-3 different angles जो दिए हैं, these are something that one will have to sit down and think about. So I will do that. And thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
It's my pleasure.
Lovely experience.
Namaskar.
Jai Hind, Jai
Thank you.
Bharat.
Jai Hind.